You had a great weekend. Welcome to Cooped Up Live, should I say. A daily-ish broadcast, I guess you could call it, where I just talk about whatever the hell I want to talk about while we are waiting on folks to join. CookedUp.com is my website. You can visit that at any time. I'm Cooped Up is my handle in all the social places. Would love a follow wherever you watch, or wherever you are on social media, rather. And wherever you watch or listen to this, it is on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, as well as rebroadcast in audio format on all the major podcasting platforms. Would love a follow. Click the bell to notify that I've come live, whatever. So, hey, Mama, how you doing today? Anyway, so my body does not know what time it is. I woke up this morning just wide awake at about 5:30, 5:45, or 5:30 it actually was. I woke up wide awake, got up. I was like, you know what? I'm up. I'm not going to go back to sleep. By the way, I normally wake up at 7. So just as a point of reference, about an hour and a half earlier, I got up, put on some tennis shoes, went in some shorts, and went for a 2-mile walk this morning. I was back in the house before the kids even woke up. I was back in the house and showered before the kids even woke up at 7. Andy ate breakfast and all that stuff. And it is so weird. So it was already starting to get light out, which I do like that. And it was a little on the humid side, but the heat was down. The weirdest thing, though, is I like to walk with my sunglasses on. I wear my sunglasses even if it is like a cloudy day or whatever. And the reason I like to wear my sunglasses is that something about when I'm walking, I don't like to make eye contact with people. I don't know why. But this morning, it was a little bit too dark, and there was a surprising number of people out at 5:45 for a walk in my neighborhood. And anyway, so by about 10 o'clock, I was starving for lunch already because my body was off already because I normally eat lunch at like 11:30. And but anyway, it was nice going for a walk there. Really, actually, it's nice getting it out of the way. It's nice, like starting your day that way. But anyway, so my body again. I don't know if I'm going to crash early tonight or what. Claire has Monday nights are our long nights, so because Claire has her roller derby practice from 6 to 8 in Grand Prairie, and then we eat afterwards, and then so I end up not getting home until like 9 o'clock. And I'm like a 9:30 to bed kind of person normally, but not on Monday nights. So I got to figure all this out. Today was also I shed a little tear this morning. Today is the start of Mason's very last week at our school. Claire, it's her last week too, but she's going to come back next year. But Mason will not be coming back to our school. And today was the very last day that he has to wear the uniform because tomorrow is field day, so they get to wear whatever they want. Wednesday, they're taking him and some of the friends in the school who are graduating out to Six Flags for the day on Wednesday. And then Thursday is the award ceremony in the morning and the graduation ceremony in the morning at 10. And so home by noon, pretty much. So we're winding down. Yeah, made me a little sad. And then, of course, I torture myself. I was like, oh, I should do one of those really cool side-by-side photo things that I see people do of the first day of the year and the last day of the year to see how much my kid has changed. And then I'm like, oh, I could take it one step further. I should go back. I know I have a photo of the very first time they stepped foot in the school, period, 10 years ago. No, I can do that. So then next thing I know, I'm like, oh, this is the cutest picture ever. Like, yeah, I'm going to be a mess. And here's the thing. They almost always make me stand up at these things because and go up and either say something or have just people say something to me at these things because I'm the board president. And so I'm like, oh, God. Listen, I'm going to actually ask them if they're going to do something like that, just to do it at the top of the show. Like, let's get it out of the way. Don't give me a chance to break down. And here's the other thing. Our head of school, that's what you call in private schools, like headmaster, principal, whatever. The head of school she is worse than I am about crying. And then, so she'll start busting into tears. And the next thing you know, I'm like domino affecting because I refuse to let anyone cry in my presence alone. There's a Still Magnolias line in there somewhere. But anyway, over the weekend, it was all about travel. So we have gotten into this terrible habit here in the Koch household is that we do not plan our vacations. So, like, when I went to Mexico last month in May, we booked that on the Sunday before the Saturday that we left, like a week out. And most often it's because Todd's schedule is so up in the air. We don't know if he can go with us or not, all that sort of stuff. So we finally settled what our plan for summer vacation this year is going to be. We're not going to Germany anymore because Todd doesn't need to be in Germany anymore. And so instead, we are going to take a week. We're going to fly out to Los Angeles, and we have a house rented on the beach. Like, you walk out the door and your feet are in the sand, the best kind. I love a good 1970s house at the beach, like where you can step right out into the sand. That's my favorite. So it's an Oxnard, California. We rented it on Airbnb, and it is it's like next to some it's between like two inlets or something, and so it's kind of hard to get to. So it's like having a private beach, which is wonderful. It's going to be great. I love it. It's very colorful on the inside. I showed it to Monica, and she was like, "That doesn't look like a place that you would stay." But again, I love a 1970s, like updated 1970s house. Doesn't have to be like modernized, just like, I don't know, board and batten, all that kind of stuff. I love it. So we're doing that, and so we're going to stay there for about a week and a half, and then a little less than that. We're leaving on like a Thursday afternoon. And we're staying there until not the immediate Saturday, but the Saturday after that. Then this gets even more interesting. So we were going to go to my in-laws' house in the mountains of North Carolina also, flying to Charlotte or Greenville, Spartanburg. And we were calculating like the cost of like the airfare and all that stuff. And by some fluke, this happens sometimes, we are able to fly to California, to LAX, in regular, like, premium economy or whatever, or coach plus or whatever they call it. But then on the we're going to just go straight from California over to North Carolina, and we can fly in first class for cheaper than it was going to cost us to do the bounces, right? And then we're going to fly back. We're going to stay there a week, and we're going to fly back from there and come home in first class again. So 2 of these flights, or the long-ass one especially, is in first class, came out to be cheaper than just 2 round-trip coach tickets. So, and that never happens. That has only ever happened to me one other time. We were going to San Francisco for some reason. I don't remember why. I needed to book my tickets separate. Oh, I remember why. It's because the way when the kids used to go visit relatives, and then Todd and I would leave, and then one of us would go back and get them and bring them back. One of us had to basically be booked as a single traveler, and then the other 3 traveled together. And that year I was the single traveler. And so I had to book my plane ticket separately to San Francisco, and then we were driving down the one to California, and then they were going to stay in Pasadena at Todd's sister Nina's house for a week, and then Todd was going to go get them. So that's why. So I was booking a ticket on American Airlines, and for some reason, I do not know why, the coach ticket was like $30 more expensive than a first class ticket. And so, of course, I flew first class. That also, the poor guy next to me, that was the flight that I watched that Jennifer Lopez movie where it's kind of like their play on Working Girl, where she worked at basically the equivalent of like a Sam's or a Walmart. And by mistake and a little bit of deception, she became this high-powered executive at the equivalent of like L'Oreal or Maybelline or something. And you're going and you're like, oh, this is like Working Girl. Like, I get it. And then there's an adoption storyline. And that adoption storyline comes in, and I am a mess. I'm sitting in first class sobbing. Like so much I probably should have turned the movie off. And I can't on airplanes. I try not to watch movies that I have an overly strong reaction to either way. I don't mind a little bit of crying because I cry at every movie, but I don't mind a little bit of crying. I cried at the fucking Little Mermaid like 4 times. But when it's that heaving, or when it's so funny, like one time I tried to watch the was either Kings of Comedy or Queens of Comedy, the stand-up special, on a plane, and couldn't. And then one time even I was reading David Sedaris's book. I don't remember which one, and I had to put it down because I was laughing, audibly laughing too hard on an airplane, and I don't like that. Um, so we got that all planned out for summer, and then we're also planning. Todd and I are going to Egypt in January, and we really, really, really needed to get those flights booked in because we wanted to fly either. I don't think they have first class anymore there. I think it's all business. It's either coach or business class, and we're flying on that double decker A380, which should be great, and we're able to use points. Still costing like $4,000 for round trip tickets to Cairo, but we're able to upgrade to business with a bunch of points too. So I'm excited about that. But that is going to be a weird flight. So it's Dallas to London Heathrow, a bunch of hours at Heathrow, and then fly to Cairo. And I didn't realize that Egypt is another 3 hours ahead of I mean, I guess I could look at a map and figure this out, but another 3 hours ahead of London. So it's like LA to New York sort of equivalent. And then on the way back, we actually have to spend the night in in the London airport. So we got a hotel room already for that. But that's all booked now too. So very excited about all of that. Leslie is saying just started planning a 3-week European vacation about a month ago. 6 countries. Yeah, that'll be fun though. I'm excited for you on that. Is that your summer vacation? So like you started planning it a month ago for the summer. I feel like everyone went to Italy this year. Like everyone I know, I feel like went to Italy this year. And last year, everyone I knew went to Spain. And the year before that, everyone I knew went to Greece. Or maybe Greece and Spain were flip-flopped on that. But I feel like there's always these like hot spots where everybody goes. You rarely hear about people going to Germany. You don't hear about anyone going to like Denmark, Holland sometimes. And there's actually just a huge article in either the New York Times or Wall Street Journal this weekend about how one of the best places for family travel is actually Amsterdam. And I could see that. The only problem with Amsterdam is, so they are delightful people until they get on a bicycle, and then they are Hell's Angels. They are terrible. Actually, I don't even know if Hell's Angels are bad people or not. I just know the reputation that they've got. So what else? Oh, so I got new luggage last week. I actually traded in my Away suitcase that I had bought about 90 days ago, and because I wanted a different color and I wanted a slightly larger size, and they have a 100-day guarantee. And so I unpacked it, took it in, and I realized this weekend, I was like, it was actually last night. So it was like 5:00. They'd already closed. I realized that I'd left my Apple AirTag in it. Leslie, by the way, get AirTags and put them in your suitcase if you don't, so that you know if your luggage has made it with you wherever you are. And so this morning I went by there when they opened at 11. They have the weirdest hours. It's like 11 to 6, 11 to 5, like super short hours. And so got there at 11. And I could see that it was still there. I could, on my phone, my devices or my belongings, I could see that it was still in the store. So I walk in and they're like, oh, and they're like, okay. So I was like, can I have it back? It's like a $30 AirTag, and then it's on a keychain, which was like another $10 in there. It's like, cause I had it like attached to the inside, and they're like, okay, I guess. And I'm like, okay. I was like, I'm happy to go into the storeroom with you. No, you can't go in the storeroom with us, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay. They're like, it's going to take a while. We got to look through hundreds of bags. It's like, no, you don't need to look through hundreds of bags. First of all, it's a return. It was a return. So I guarantee you have not sold it back yet. Secondly, it's blue. Thirdly, it's this size. It does not have the battery pack, all of that kind of stuff. And so, they kind of acted like it was a pain in the ass, but it really only took like 5 minutes. So it wasn't that big of a deal. And the whole time I'm just pinging it so that they can hear it. Because that's the other thing. I don't know if you know how these things work, but you can go ping, so that you can kind of hear it and know where it's going. And if you have the phone, like I tried to give them my phone to just go do it. They didn't take it, but it'll tell you walk 5 feet forward, walk 2 feet to the left, 2 feet up, 2 feet down. It like zones you in within like a a foot of the damn thing. So, but you're going to the UK, France, Benelux. What does that mean? And Germany is Benelux. Is that Belgium, Netherlands, Luxembourg? I'm guessing that's. I've never heard of that phrase before. But anyway, so I got my AirTag back, and all's well in the world there. Did y'all hear? Totally different subject. Did y'all hear about these kids in Colombia? So on Friday evening, they found these kids. So backstory: there was these 4 kids, ages 1 to 10, I believe, maybe 12, but all younger than my children. They were flying over in a small, like Cessna type plane. They were flying over the Colombian dense Colombian rainforest jungle, I guess, which basically is only populated by jaguars and like cartels, like the Sinaloa drug cartel or something like that. And they're flying over, and it's with their mom, the pilot, and some sort of guide. And I don't know why they were doing this. I didn't read that much into it. But the plane stalled out and crashed into the rainforest. And it took authorities like 2 weeks to find the crash. That's how dense this rainforest, jungle, whatever it is. I think it's jungle, how this jungle is. And so they finally found the plane 2 weeks later. And they discover that the mom had died, the pilot had died, and the guide had died. So all of the adults had died, but they don't think any of the kids had died. So the 4 kids, and there was evidence that they hadn't, because it was like a dirty diaper here and a shoe there, not stuff that would have just flown out of the plane. It was like left there. And so for the last 4 weeks, so 6 weeks total, 2 weeks before the plane was even discovered, and for the last 4 weeks, they've been hunting for these kids, and they've been flying helicopters over the jungle with a loudspeaker saying, like, stop, let us know that you're there, set something on fire, make some noise, whatever, like, stop moving, and telling them this. They've been throwing flyers out. They've been doing food drops for these kids for 4 weeks. And I don't know about you. I mean, I have 2 children, obviously, you know that, who are 14. I don't think they could survive overnight in the Colombian jungle. With luck, maybe a weekend before either they gave up, killed each other, or jaguar ate them. I don't think a cartel would kidnap them. They'd give them back. But you got like a baby and then older siblings, right, on this thing. And they found all of them. They found alive. They were very malnourished and very thin, but they found them Friday night. And everyone is, I mean, the president of Colombia was on a trip to Cuba and came back, and I'm sure they're going to meet him and all this stuff. But it was just like a happy ending. I mentioned it to my kids. They found the kids in Colombia, and they're like, no, how's that possible? But yeah, so good for that is like one of those good news stories that it just makes you so happy to hear about. It's like those kids that were trapped in, that was at a mine in Thailand, I think, a bunch of years ago. I mean, I think they've even made a movie about it. I wonder if they'll make a movie about this with these kids. Like, I wondered, like, did a jaguar see them and say, eh? Or did they just happen to not see anybody? Like, I can't wait to hear about their heroism. And because the other thing is, that 10 or 12-year-old, I can't remember if the oldest one was 10 or 12, but around that age. Can you imagine the level of responsibility that kid had to take on? I can't also imagine the trauma, like these poor kids having to plane crash, see their mom die, pilot die, all of that kind of stuff, and then think to yourself, well, shit, guess I got to get out of here. Let's pack up some goodies. Let's get some diapers, because they were finding diapers in the forest also, or the jungle also. So they were changing this kid's diaper. And so the kids thought enough to, like, let's pack up the stuff. Let's get to walking. Let's do all this. I assume they found water, because I don't think you can survive 6 weeks without water, right? And maybe there's probably more to the story. There's probably the reason why they were doing it is their mom is like the survivalist or researcher or something like that. So they probably have been camping a million times. They probably know a lot more than I'm giving them credit for knowing, because my kids certainly wouldn't. And I don't think, even if you drop me, I'll be 50 next year. drop me in the jungle. That's not gonna last very long. I'm just gonna say, I've already decided after watching. We've been watching The Walking Dead. We finally started it like a million years after everybody else. I'm getting bored with it, honestly. Todd and the kids like it still, Claire mostly, but it is one of those things where sorry, my phone keeps ringing while I'm trying to talk to y'all. Uh, uh, I'm like, I think I want to be a first wave gone. Like, I don't think I want to be a survivor. I've always fancied myself a survivor, but the older I get and the more comfortable I am and all that, I'm like, that is not good. I mean, 10 years later and you're still living like in the dirt and stuff. Nope, that's not for me. And what else do I have to talk about? We had some guy come to the door earlier today selling steaks door to door. I've never heard of selling steaks door to door. Like, not I've heard of like food delivery, like the Schwann's truck. That was that was like the biggest luxury of my childhood. The egg rolls from the Schwann's truck, I loved them to death. I bet they're terrible in real life. Does that even exist still, the Schwann's truck? But I think with that, they didn't just show up at your house and say, hey, you want any Schwann's? I think that you had to like have an order, right? Or like, I remember there being like a pamphlet and you marked how many of each thing and then you gave that to them, right? Yeah. But this guy was literally straight up just like, hey, I'm selling some steaks. You want any? And he had a truck and it was like a pickup truck that had like a big, it was outfitted for refrigeration and stuff. I didn't recognize the brand. I never heard of that. So the weirdest thing, just Eric is saying about Colombia, I could live 6 weeks on my body fat, the ultimate diet. But would you want to? So, and then the last thing I have on my list, if y'all have a Trader Joe's near you, I don't know if you do, a Trader Joe's near you, I tried out this marinade last night from there called Soyaki. It is a mix of soy and teriyaki. I marinated salmon fillets in it for a couple of hours, and then I put them in the air fryer, and I think it was like 380 for like 12 minutes. It was a surprisingly, the cheat sheet for the salmon, I was like, that does not sound like the right amount of time. But I always trust it. It's like Waze. I always trust Waze also because it knows more than I think it does. And so I put it in, cooked it up. It was so good. And the soy and the teriyaki kind of caramelized a little bit on top of it. And it was still flaky. It was wonderful, wonderful. And the kids like it with mashed potatoes. I just had mine with a side salad. But soy yaki, it's a jar. It kind of looks like an old style like apple juice jar, but it's not that big. It's like, I don't know. Eric, back to Schwann's. Eric is saying I saw a Schwann's truck when I was in Iowa recently. Really? Maybe it's like a smaller town, like secondary, tertiary city kind of thing. Leslie's saying I've recently seen commercials for Schwann's. Huh. Well, who knew? You would think that would be a business. Let me look that up real quick. Schwann's truck. Schwann's home delivery, frozen food home delivered. Sure enough. And you can still get it and 35% off your first delivery. They still got the ice cream and the meals. The egg rolls is what I always loved. Okay, I'm gonna have to check that out. I don't know if it's worth it anything. I like going to Aldi for my frozen foods because they have like really kind of like fun exotic things. So you've seen them in your neighborhood, Mom. Okay, well, news to me. I don't know. Do you get these random guys in trucks selling steaks out of the back of their truck though? I just can't even imagine. That's so weird to me. So, alrighty, well, that's all I have got today. Make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay, I did not. So with that, I'm gonna say bye because I need to get off, and Claire and I have to start driving in about 20 minutes to get to her practice. I am not staying for the practice. I'm like 2 hours sitting on a plastic bench in a roller skating rink. Nope. I'm gonna go to. There's a Sam's nearby. There's a Home Goods nearby. There's a Michael's nearby. There's a Walmart. There's an IKEA. Like I'm gonna be doing something for 2 hours, hour and a half maybe. I'll make sure because she gets paranoid if I'm not early to pick her up. She thinks I'm abandoning her. But anyway, so with that, I'm going to say bye. I love you. It's important to know you are loved. I love that you watched this. Thank you so much. This is good therapy for me. And take care of yourself. Don't should yourself to death. No good comes from should. And I will see you soon. Bye, everybody. Love you. Bye. I'll see you for another episode of Cooped Up Live, should I say. I'm getting all my taglines mixed up today. Bye. Bye.